the problem with drama is if people don't have any training in it, unless they're naturally brilliant, which not many people are going to be, you do need to do some learning. Otherwise, one of the reasons when you say drama to people and they go, it's because they've just ended up with a shambolic hip hop going on, and people are like, no, that's not drama. So you do need something, even if it's someone else's lesson plan,
yes,
to get started with.
Welcome to another fascinating episode of Drama Beyond Performance. Today we are going to talk to Patrice Baldwin, an illuminary in the field of drama education and an advocate for arts in schools. Patrice's innovative approaches have not only encouraged teachers, educators around the world, but also have championed the role of drama in developing life skills such as critical thinking, creative thinking, and empathy. Join us in this conversation as we delve deeper into her philosophy, her experience, and her great passion for drama.
All right, so Patrice, let's talk about your books. This is the book that I bought, your first book, which I keep referencing to all the time.
It's not my first book, did you say?
I know,
Oh.
but this is mine.
Oh, your
my first buy,
Okay.
from all your titles that you've written. And this in itself is so comprehensive. And if I would suggest any school who is interested in looking at drama beyond performance and looking at drama as a pedagogy, must definitely have this book in their library. But my question is, when you write a book, do you usually do teacher training or teacher workshops on how to use the book?
It's strange you should say that. As I just sent my next book off today to the publisher. Yes, so it's gone. And in the questionnaire, which I had to fill in, I don't usually, particularly. I'm not saying I don't do it. I mean, I don't just do something about the book to sell the book. But I don't do that very specifically, but it always fits with where my practice is at, in a way. So I've always run courses, and I'm bringing to it units of work to do with the curriculum and teaching and learning, because all of my books have got, except for the one I've just done, which is different, all of them have got lesson plans in the back and complete units of work.
Yes.
So, and they're always going to be, I hope, around something that I know schools are going to need, or teachers are going to, because one of the problems with drama is you often get schools saying, well, I haven't got time because I've got to do the history and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And I'm saying, yes, and what is more, we can help. Because actually, I very deliberately put units of work so that, I can't remember what's in that one off the top of my head, but there probably is a unit of work around history. Mm-hmm. A lot of my books are about writing, or improving children's writing, or using drama for all sorts of, PSHE, understanding relationships. It's such a flexible thing, drama. You can teach anything with it. Some things are much easier to teach with it than others. You could force yourself to teach anything through it, but I would like to choose what's the best way to teach anything. But an awful lot, all the arts and humanities, drama should be part of the way in which you get children to engage with it. So I always because you could write a book and teachers could still think, well, yeah, that's fine, but I haven't got a clue how to start. So it might be, as far as I know, that teachers might have just gone to the back. Perhaps they just went to the lessons, I don't know. But I always think it's important. I will not just do lessons. So I think it's important to write the rationale for using drama and what you can do with it, and why you might choose this technique rather than that one, and how it particularly helps that. And if I've written a book which has got a whole load of drama lessons units in the back, so if we just took this one, it's just opened on the Victorian cotton mill. It's about working children in this country when they had to work in cotton mills. It's on the curriculum, I think, that they have to teach Victorians. So if a teacher's, it's hooking them in a way, isn't it? Because they're going to teach about Victorian cotton mills anyway, and child labour in Victorian times. So this is actually going to help them to look at it. And even if they end up just taking 1 or 2 ideas from it and thinking, okay, well, I wasn't going to do any drama, but I could have a go at that, then I think that's the seed.
Yes.
Because they'll see in the children's eyes and in the way the children respond what happens when, instead of just telling them a load of stuff and seeing if they can remember it, they actually care. I mean, here, I think I go in as the inspector from the government, Shaftesbury, Lord Shaftesbury's messenger. I come in to find out about what's going on in these cotton mills, and I want to talk to the children. Well, are they going to tell me or not? And it opens up all sorts of, there's all sorts of possibilities to be opened up in any of them.
So, tell us about your favorite. I mean, what?
That's my favourite.
That's your favorite, yes.
I love them all. I think this is important because I got very, very interested, and still am, obviously if you're teaching children, brains ought to be relevant. And we're not just brains detached from bodies. So I think it's really important that you know what works well for learning and what works well for human beings. And education ought to be around and about that. And I got very, very interested in neuroscience. And the more I found out about neuroscience, only as a teacher, but the more I was learning, I was going on courses, I was reading, I was finding out and connecting up with some other people that might have an interest in it as well. And I started to realise why drama worked. And people were not making those connections at the time that I wrote this book particularly. But I started making these connections and getting really quite excited about it. This is where I should say I wanted to be a doctor. A brain.
I feel that all the time. I feel that, I should have been a doctor or a psychologist or something like that. But why does drama work?
It works, first of all, I think, because it's emotionally engaging. So children get interested in it. If something's happening, it feels real, even if it's pretend. It feels real, and actually it draws you in. That's why we watch television, films, go to theatre. Even though, you still get pulled in on a human level, on a personal level, on an emotional level. You're still pulled into it. The other thing is, it's dealing with something which is resonating in you. But also, the brain is social. So when you don't want to sit at a desk by yourself, not talk to anybody, not fidget, just sit still, don't move. That's absolutely alien to the way, I'm not saying never, but it's not the way that people are going to learn best. In fact, I can sit there appearing to be incredibly attentive and paying no attention to you whatsoever. Whereas if it's a drama situation, first of all, children generally speaking, want to be social. So it's immediately enable them to talk to each other, work together. And in a way that's hopefully interesting, because this drama's been set up in such a way that they're actually interested and they've got a limited time to sort this problem out together. And then how are they going to go and face it's throwing up problems and working together. You can teach anything through drama, but its appeal for children is, first of all, it's rooted in dramatic play. So nature's telling you something before you start school, and schools shouldn't ignore the way the brain works. And dramatic play, if you looked at what is given before you start, look how important dramatic play is. So schools, and I'm not just talking about very young children, of course they will come in hopefully and get opportunities to do free dramatic play and dramatic play with an adult alongside them, but take that somewhere else. And then you've also got teachers who might be more clued up than that. That's just good, it's just good relationships with children. But you can also then throw in some techniques. And you can work in those ways with whole classes. And in a way, it's the seed of drama for learning is in dramatic play, but it borrows from theatre, you're quite right. It takes theatre in lots of techniques, strategies, conventions that are used for theatre making and used within exploring plays and things within theatre. That's fine. I'm now going to take them into education and learning. And I do use performance. But I use the performance, we're not doing, I also think children should have opportunities to perform, so don't get me wrong, yes. They should actually have opportunities to perform in theatre as well, but I'm just talking about drama for learning at the moment. But in the drama for learning context, quite often they're creating something they then are going to present and perform and show each other. But in order to have got to that, they've had to sit together and say, right, what's going to be really important that we communicate in this very short scene that we're going to create together? What's really important? What are you going to say, or what are you going to do? All of that is actually working with the material in a way where you're trying to communicate your learning and understanding to somebody else. It's not just a case of a director saying, you stand there, you say this, okay, you come in and sit and watch it, very good. And that's of limited use.
Also, the technique of theatre, like the stagecraft technique, that comes in much later. It's all about, as you rightly said, that what are you trying to tell? What are you trying to communicate through a scene or through a play or a particular story?
But if they are going to show it, I want them to do it well.
Yeah, yes, yes.
So I do think you do bring the craft in.
Yes, you do.
Because I'm saying, like Performance Carousel, it's quite funny because I remember creating Performance Carousel, and when I described it all to Jonathan, he said, yeah, I call it Performance Way. You went, oh, because you've generated stuff out of need. So you will, they're not sacred. Drama strategies don't have to sit in a box and dust it off, and this is all you do with it. Do what you like with it, because if you're a professional teacher and you know what that child needs, I can adapt it, I can change it, no problem. What do the children need? But if they are going to perform something, I do want everybody to pay attention to it. And I do want them, if it's something I've given, they're not improvising, I do want to give them a chance to rehearse it. And I do want them to know they've got a time limit. And then I will actually just, I will bring that into it just on a focus level. Because if we're going to actually if these people have created something, the very least you can do is sit and listen pay attention. And I don't want to do that as a teacher saying, stop talking. No, you're pay attention. I don't want to do all that. But the technique, Performance Carousel, the strategy, has a set of protocols around it where they know that's what that means. So instead of the teacher saying that endlessly, I'll just say, right, don't forget what we do with Performance Carousel. And they know the protocols and it works.
Yes.
So there's a learning purpose to it. It's not a theatre purpose. My purpose is the learning, but the focus, the attention, yes, you need that in the theatre, but you also need it in the learning.
Absolutely. You've spoken about children, but does it also work? Does drama work for adolescents, like who are 14 plus? Because somehow when children become teenagers, suddenly they change. We know that. I mean, physically they change, and socially they change. A lot of them become very awkward. Yeah. And we get a lot of teenagers coming in and trying to figure things out. And most of them go through this, huge process of judging and not judging each other, themselves, and things like that. When you talk about inspiring writing through drama, and this goes up till age 16, how does drama then, does it affect children of a certain age in a certain way?
I mean, I'll just tell you, first of all, the person that I wrote this book with, I used to teach his children. And actually, my daughter ended up at the sixth form college at which he was head of drama and then vice principal at. So what you had was somebody who is a teacher and is also very steeped, he's a theatre director and playwright. Me, who's massively interested in learning and has got drama and theatre training too, but coming together, and we very deliberately, and this is quite interesting in Norfolk, I mean, I do think we were doing brilliantly with this. We created a long-term drama course, which was for primary and secondary teachers together, deliberately. We didn't separate it out. And it was really interesting and also when I set up Drama for Learning and Creativity project, I had primary and drama working together because it's the same child who's children are passing through the both, aren't they? I think if something's interesting enough, it's about grabbing their attention, isn't it? And I mean, you can get that where you, the group, especially with adolescents, will almost sort each other out if they're interested enough to make sure the attention goes where it needs to be. So I think it's also about discipline. I mean, I don't mean in a punitive type way, but it's about, when does it work most effectively? And actually together with ownership of it, we all own it. We've all got responsibility for it. And if you've got something interesting enough, then most of them are going to want it to work. And the others don't want to fall out with the classmates, generally speaking, so they might go along with it. And before you know where you are, they're really quite interested and they're right in there. So there is quite a lot of, I mean, it just depends if it's something of relevance to them, doesn't it? And but also, as I say, I don't like the false, I mean, I know the system divides primary and secondary.
Yes.
But a child, in a way, you're always appealing to the child with drama, aren't you? You're always going back to that dramatic play seed, which is an important part of a human being through their life, which can get forgotten or pushed aside or not given opportunity. And I also think it's interesting, when we did some work with Drama for Learning and Creativity, that was primary and secondary schools. And actually, one of the things that was being fed back to me was children were coming in on the days when they'd got drama. and bunking off on the days when they hadn't. So it must have been doing something just in terms of attendance. And particularly you get that with performance, don't you? If you're in a play, you've got to turn up and everything else. But they were turning up because they found it enjoyable, interesting, relevant to them. And they could actually talk to each other and do things together. So it fits quite often with what their other needs, and drama brings all sorts to them. And it's not just about performance. But they should do that as well. But it's about working collaboratively. I mean, there's all those 21st century skills in the book that I can't find, which is my last book. We looked very particularly at 21st century skills in that book. And if you look up at it, I mean, I know people would have heard this before, but in terms of employment, what do you want from an employee? Well, you want somebody who's got good listening skills, who can get on with somebody else, who can problem solve, who can,
comprehend.
Yeah, you go through all the 21st century skills and it just goes to me, drama. Yes. So, because it's a microcosm of the world, isn't it? And a social microcosm. But the problem with drama is if people don't have any training in it, unless they're naturally brilliant, which not many people are going to be, you do need to do some learning. Otherwise, one of the reasons when you say drama to people and they go, it's because they've just ended up with a shambolic hip hop going on, and people are like, no, that's not drama. So you do need something, even if it's someone else's lesson plan,
Yes.
to get started with. And then you can become a little more brave and a little more free. And you might think, I've got a better idea than her. If I look at my lesson plans
No,
again,
your lesson plans have given us new ideas, really.
I don't follow them now. But if I look at them, I think, actually, I'm not sure I do that now. I do it this way instead.
Yes.
Because they should be living things that are just a tool. It's like, I always say they're like recipe books, in a way. Is that once you become a cook, you think, well, okay, I'll shove a bit of this in. I'm not going to actually follow the recipe quite. And I just think you get brave like that with it because you see what works and what works for your children. So.
Right. I would like you to just talk a little bit about teaching literacy through drama, because when we started teaching, working with children using drama, our primary motive would be helping children fall in love with poetry. Okay, and look at poems and short stories and, which are not really brought into the world of children the way it should be. The moment you get a poem in school, you start dissecting the poem. You start putting the rhyming scheme and the alliteration and this and that, and the essence of poems and why it is important to read poems or write poems. That's gone down the drain. So drama really helped us bring the love for literature back into children's lives. So I would really want you to talk about literacy through drama, because we have done literature through drama and that works very well, but literacy through drama.
It's interesting because this was a publish and be damned book, this one was. Yes, I was a head teacher at the time. I was a head teacher and England had a national literacy strategy brought in and a national numeracy strategy, which was separate to the national curriculum in some ways. So we had a national curriculum came in within which drama was sitting within English, which I don't agree it should be. I mean, I've got no problem whatsoever with teaching English through drama. I've written lots about it and I love it, and it's got a natural. But I don't think dance should be in PE, and I don't think drama should be in English because it changes what you do with drama, and it's a major art form, and I don't see why. Well, I do know, I've been told why, but music and art, I love music and art, and I used to be an arts advisor as well. To me, they're all equal status. I wouldn't make any one art form more important than another, and yet curriculum quite often does. Anyway, the National Literacy Strategy came in, and I can remember it was here I got it out for the first weekend, and I was a head teacher, and I thought, right. And I spread it all over my hall floor, and I got my highlighter pen out. I thought I will look for the drama. And I couldn't find any. I think puppets was in there. That was about it, really. But if you understood drama for learning, I thought, well, that would be good. You could use drama there. Drama would be really good for that. And I could see littered right across it the possibilities of what drama could do with literacy. And yet it wasn't mentioned, so nobody was going to pay attention to it or do it unless they knew that already. And so that's why I wrote this book. And one of the things that I did in this book was I took, I think I did, it was a long time ago, I took an assessment unit, a couple of assessment units. I took a couple of assessment units, or perhaps it was just one. Anyway, that one there. And there'd been a national test. And so I thought, right, okay, the previous year or whatever, I took that assessment unit and without giving it to the children, I created a drama lesson around the story and chose techniques and framed them in a way that meant the children would do the sort of thinking and talk that would help them to do really well in that test that they didn't know they were going to get yet. And then after we'd had the drama, I said, what I'd like you to do now, I said, I think you'll be really good at it. I said, there's a test paper here from last year. I said, I think you're going to be really good at that because all those things that are in there, I know that we've done them there. Just have a go at it. And they did really well at it, which apart from anything else, psychologically made them think we can do quite well at SATS tests. And what was fascinating and wonderful, there's a guy, in fact, he's written a foreword for my next book, and he's done it on some of my others. There's a guy called Professor Mick Waters, who used to be in charge of the Qualifications and Curriculum Authority. And I still have some connection with, do some things. He, QCA at that point, which no longer exists, but it used to be responsible for the curriculum, they actually allowed some schools in Norwich. The schools in Norwich actually approached QCA, I think. I don't think I got involved, I just got told about it. They asked QCA, can we approach our SATS through drama? Can we actually do the SATS through drama? And it was nothing to do with me, except it grew from this, and they did. And some schools were very deliberately allowed as a sort of an experiment to do that. And I thought that was quite enlightened and just, of course, in one way in a way, just sit them down and what can they do? But I don't, at the end of the day, they're still, it wouldn't be fair as an equal thing because we haven't all had the drama, but as an experiment, it was very interesting. But what was brilliant was QCA let them do it. And I thought that was fantastic. And that came from that idea where I'd taken the old SATS papers. But what you've then got is children who think, I can do this. I'm successful at this. So that when they then come across one, they already have had success at it. So I think that's worth doing. And poetry is interesting. I love poetry. I work a lot with narrative poetry because, obviously all drama is story, really. And sometimes I'll just give you an example of something I've done with poetry because you mentioned it. So quite often I've used the story, The Pied Piper of Hamelin. I don't know if you know. And there's also, I've done lots of units of work with that. But one of the things that I do is in it says, they fought the dogs and killed the cats and bit the babies in the cradles. So I can say, right, okay, different groups. They fought the dogs and killed the cats and bit the babies in the cradles. And we create those scenes and we generate the language. And we engage with the text in order to do it. And then I say, yes, but I wonder what else they might have done that we don't know about in the poem. Go off and create something else that isn't mentioned. And then you can get it there, so they go off and then we see it. And I say, okay, and see if you can make it, take one of the lines of the poem out then and put your idea in instead and see if you can do it as well as the poet did so that we can't tell the difference. And then they can read it out and we can see, and there's a lot of work going on in that in relation to do it, but it's enjoyable, it's fun. They've worked creatively, but they've had to understand the text and what it's about and the rhythm and the meter and everything else in order to make it work. Well, it's enjoyable ways of teaching it, And Lady of Shalott, I've done lots with that, and I've used that with artwork as well. So because I quite often like working with images and text together. And my latest book has got, one of the chapters in it is about using drama strategies with images. Another one is about using it as thought and talk frames. But I say, you can do it with anything. It's just you've got to use the teacher head about how you're going to make it interesting and engaging from the children, what it is you want them to do, and make it enjoyable, really. But I wouldn't do it the whole time, because over there's a child who doesn't like doing it this way. But it's certainly something that they should have. But
usually it works. Usually you find that children who are not really interested in the first, maybe few classes, that's what in our experience. But they slowly, if you let them be, they get engaged. Eventually they'll come and they participate.
That's why you need the drama contract. So I should say the
Yes,
drama contract.
yes.
Yes, okay. I should tell you about my drama contract.
Yes, please.
Because, I mean, obviously, I can't blanket say things because every class is different, every teacher's different, what you're trying to, However, I taught so many classes, and I often, obviously, teach in classes I've never met before. But one of the things that I do straight off is I say to a class of children, I don't even know them, and there's a teacher watching or whatever, or they're taking part, I don't let them just watch, they have to join in. Because it creates a different dynamic. If people, I mean, sometimes I have to, if there's students watching or something, but I try to get people involved as well. But I say to the children, what do you think drama is? What is drama? So who can tell me what drama is? And depending on their previous experience, they're going to say different things. So often they'll say putting on plays, or it's theatre or whatever. It'll depend on the school you're in. If you've had a school that was involved in this, they would have said, oh, it's when you pretend, they'd say different things. And then everything they say, I say, yes, 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 because it's all going to be perfectly valid, no doubt. And as long as they're not just being awkward, which they aren't. And then I say, okay, can I ask you 3 questions? Do you ever pretend to be somebody else? And they, yeah. Do you ever pretend to be somewhere else? Yeah. Do you ever pretend there's something happening and it isn't happening really? And they know exactly what you're talking about. And then I say, can we call that drama? Well, that's the seed of it, isn't it? That's the seed of drama for learning. Right. Yeah, okay. So then I say, so we all know what we're talking about now. Yeah, can we call that drama? We can have a go at that, but I just want to say, we know that sometimes that can go a bit wrong or doesn't work. What can we all do? What can we all agree? What would mess it up? What would spoil it? And they know that as well, because they've all had that experience. It's when somebody doesn't take it seriously or whatever. And they tell me, I say, oh yeah, okay. So what could we agree? What could we agree? Just some, I mean, they're protocols really, but what can we all agree that we'll try and do so that we don't break this pretend? And then they'll tell me, and I'll say, okay, good, yeah, fine. What else? And I end up with something which is a drama contract that's been created with them collaboratively, which they share ownership of, and they understand. That's not the same as going in and saying, in a drama lesson, you will do this. When I am doing all that rubbish, that's going to over them, isn't it? And then it means, and then I usually play the drama balloon game, where I say, okay, I'm going to throw this sort of a balloon ball thing. It goes a bit faster than a balloon. And we throw it around amongst ourselves, this imaginary thing. And I say, but before we do it, if we're really good at this, there's only going to be one balloon. We won't end up with any more. And if we're really good at it, no one's going to drop it. It's not going to get damaged. We're going to see if we can keep this balloon in the air. And if we can do that, we'll have done really well. So then we do it. And then, thank you. And then it comes back to me. And I say, do you know what you've just shown me? You've shown me that you can work really well together, that you can all imagine an object's there when it isn't. And then I go through and I said, and what you've just done means you're going to be really good at drama, because that's what we do in drama. I put the balloon down because it can't just disappear. And then if we get a child that's just sort of going off course, I just say balloon. And I don't need to say any more, because the balloon has come to symbolise the behaviours we expect and know we can do around drama. The trouble is I often only work with children once or twice now because they're not my class anymore. But the other thing that is just so wonderful is that when I was a head teacher, and I supposed to be running a school, which I did, but I also used to teach drama throughout the whole school. I called it assessment. But I would say to the teacher, what do you want the learning to be? And so a teacher I know said once to me, it was an infant class, little ones, she said, we're doing symmetry. I said, right, okay, fine. So I said, what do you usually do? And she showed me a worksheet, which is just and there was a butterfly and it had got its dots on one wing and it didn't have any dots on the other wing. And there's a worksheet, typical stuff. So I said, okay, thanks. So when the kids came into the hall, I'd got a pair of, antennae, whatever those things, dongly things on the head. And I'd got one wing there with bricks on it. And I'd got the other wing with no bricks on it. And the children came into the hall and I'm like, oh, they say, what's the matter? What's the matter? Strange head teacher. What's the matter? And I said, someone's stolen my spots. And they said, oh. I said, look, I had those on the other wing as well, and now they've all gone. I went to sleep, and when I woke up, the spot thief has taken them all. Right, anyway. So don't cry, head teacher. No, they didn't go. They went off and they got some spots for me and they put them in the right place on the opposite wings. And I said, oh, thank you, that's really helpful. Oh, I feel so much better already. And so what they'd done was symmetry, of course. Yeah. And then we had some other, but that could lead them into what might have been the worksheet they were going to do. But then there was this wonderful PSHE opportunity, personal social health education. I said, they turned around, they said, I said, what do you think? Well, they thought it wasn't right that the spot thief went around doing this. I said, well, I've heard he does. He's upset a lot of butterflies, There's a lot of butterflies and they're very unhappy and they can't really fly properly when they haven't got the spots in the right places. Maybe we need to go and talk to him. Of course, if I was trying to do writing, I'd say maybe we could write him a letter. I mean, it just depends what I want to do. And then teacher in role is the most powerful teaching tool of the whole lot. Of course, I then become the spot thief at some point, and they come along and they say, you're upsetting the butterflies. And I say, oh, they don't need all those spots. They've got plenty of spots on the other wing. It's just being greedy. And I just become plain old. Anyway, I get them to justify why I should stop seeing. Oh, well, I'll think about it. Well, do you think that, what do you think? Do you think he listened to you? Because you can step out of role and you can talk about it. Anyway, I can't remember all the detail of it. But it's the teacher head, isn't it? Thinking, yes, okay, teachers asked me to do the maths. That's the worksheet they're going to do. Why the heck would I care whether a butterfly's spots were? Unless there was a butterfly that actually upset me and I was trying to help him. And I can be that butterfly. And then there's a moral thing here well, we need to sort that out as well. So there's a cross-curricular possibility with it. So, I mean, it's just, and it gets them, but they're doing the learning they have to do. So...
Well, thank you so much, Patrice, for your time and for showing us all of this. And this is something that we would like to end a conversation with, the drama box.
Well, I'll just tell you one thing before I tell you that. Yeah. The first book that I sort of wrote, which I don't think anybody would probably find anywhere now, the local authority. When I started off working, I was in London. I'd done my degree in English and drama, which are separate subjects. You'll notice that in my degree. Interesting. And then I was lucky because I could get any training I wanted for free, and there was plenty of it, and it was good quality. And also I could get drama advisory teachers into my school, and they'd take my classes, so I could watch them work with my own children. Anyway, all of that was wonderful. And then I came to Norfolk, and it's beautiful and I love it, but actually it was not able to offer and wasn't offering what was going on there. Anyway, to cut a long story short, the English advisor released me from he said, why are you so interested in drama? So I said, well, I am, because, and I told him. And he basically then said, well, run some courses on it. I thought, oh, so I was only in my 20s or something, and I suddenly delivering the courses in Norfolk. But also he arranged for me to be released from my school. But also at the same time, not just me, there were 12 of us at that point, and 12 of us were all released out of school to work in other schools, but we had to produce a publication at the end of it. And that was the publication that I produced at the end of it with lessons, whatever. So that was the first one. Well, somebody called Leslie Hendy, who was a lecturer at Homerton College in Cambridge, saw it. And I didn't know that she was connected at some point. At that point, Collins Educational, which was a big major publisher, were looking to publish in drama. Yes. And she saw this and she said, I need to contact them because I've seen this. And she and I together ended up producing the drama box, which is inside it, but I can't find it, got the drama book. Because this is going online and finding everything, of course. So in order to do the resources, they were all on cards. But interesting and sad, it's things like the vanishing rainforests, the drowning silt islanders, all these things that we were teaching at this time before, anyway, hey-ho, and on we go. But so that really got me into and then I have just used different publishers at different times for different purposes. And my next book.
And what is it called?
I wish I could remember. It's called something like 40 plus drama in inverted commas strategies to enhance whole class teaching. Because what I want people to realise, and it's interesting the use of the word drama or not, yes, those are drama techniques and strategies that we use. And yes, because we've trained in drama or theatre, we know them. And yes, we can bring them into our classrooms, and we're also classroom teachers. Maybe then we can see, I can use that, whatever. But so can my next door neighbour teacher who's never done drama or theatre. In fact, she's probably, if she's any good, trying to actually, she understands and she's probably doing something which is along those lines with us. But then I thought, I've got a bag of tools here. And a lot of them were borrowed from drama, but I'm also an action learning facilitator. So I've also got some from action learning, plus I've created some or whatever. Anyway, I stopped there because I'd 40-something of them, and I've written them into my next book. But the book, and it's very clear at the beginning, is intended for all teachers of any subject. It's about pedagogical tools and techniques that can be used. And I said earlier, a bit like a recipe book, you can try it out as it's written in the book, yep, fine. And then if you're paying attention to your children, you'll think, actually, this is working quite well, or it's not, or whatever. You'll get to know them, even if you just start with, and I've got an appeal in the book, just try one or two. And then I just think that if people do try them and they stop thinking, oh, we've got to go on stage and perform, which is the problem when you say drama to teachers. And as I say, of course they should go on the stage and perform, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the seed of it. And I often say with theatre people, the problem comes if you bring theatre in and dilute it down into small bite-sized chunks for young children. It's completely the wrong way round. You say, what are children doing before they set foot in the school? And then what can I bring to it that's going to advance and move them on where they need to go with what they need to learn? That's not the same. And actually, I'm a bit contentious on this one, but I'll say it, never mind. Because I adore Shakespeare, I love it. But I am concerned about diluting it down into bite-sized chunks. And I have done that occasionally and tried it. Children stop me in the corridor and say, that naughty king? Yes. and it's all brilliant stuff. But I mean, what I think it's more important to do what children need. And obviously it's all good story. I don't ever want them to think, I don't want it in the hands of teachers who, it's different in the hands of English teachers and drama teachers. And certainly when I went to school, Shakespeare was something we all sat and read round the class, and it was very much just about reading Shakespeare. But I actually think I personally would prefer children to come at it at an age where they can get into the language of it and not just the narrative. But that's just me.
No, even we do our Shakespeare program for children only once they turn 15, not before that.
No, that's fine. But I just think what I didn't want was children thinking, I've already done that.
Oh, yeah.
I know what happens.
Yes.
He kills him. And then she starts having nightmares. And I said, yeah, but just freeze her. What's she thinking? What happened just before? If you could play the scene differently. I mean, it's what you do with it, isn't it? It's what you do with it. And that's where you start to develop children as thinkers. So,
on that note, thank you so much, Patrice, for your time, for showing your house, your space, your books, and for being so generous with your ideas and thoughts and sharing with all of us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.